Yes. Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome back. I hope your week has been thus far absolutely outstanding, and we're glad that you're here and with us because we've got some serious updates today. Big one out of Minnesota. Of course, we've been covering the Alex Pretti situation, and yesterday we learned there was a new video that showed a prior incident from January 13th, about 10 days or so before he was killed, where he was beating the back of a federal vehicle, and we suspected hocking loogies right out of his mouth, just like Nahir Ahmed from yesterday, at the agent. And now today, we've got another angle, yet another way to see exactly what an agitator, insurgent, felonious individual he was. And you can see we've got this queued up today, and this is really the full video. This one is a long one. It's 20 minutes, and it encompasses the before the scene. And so we'll go through it and see exactly what went down, because it shows yet again that he was agitating, and this is part of a pattern in practice that carried over and contributed to his death. Not that we'll get into it. About to unload right there, but we'll save it. All right, so we're going to get into this because there's a lot more, and there's a lot of reaction to this, and a lot of people are eating their words today. Many people on the left were saying this guy was so peaceful, had nothing that you could even say bad about him. And then we get this video that comes out, but not before we've got a bunch of different Democrats that we'll parse through today to see what they have to say about this. But we've also got Andy Biggs queued up. We had Tom Homan out in Minnesota. We've got the border czar, Tom Homan, and the White House releasing today from the White House the latest on what the deal is, what the plan is. And so we'll come back to review that, see exactly what's going on. We've got Hakeem. We've got even this clip from Amy Klobuchar. Man, this one was wild. If you rewind the clock back to Sanity Land, back in, this looks like 2006, the Democrats were talking very differently about immigration and people who were coming into the country legally and border walls and all the things. And so we'll go into that. And then we've got the president who was there at the cabinet today talking about what the latest is from the White House. So all that in the first segment. Then we'll turn our attention to some litigation out of Minneapolis and St. Paul, because we see that we had this one judge we talked about earlier in the week, a little bit of a follow-up to this, but this guy, of course, the Schlitz, he has now been somebody who's backtracking on his prior order. And there's some very scandalous affairs that our friend Julie Kelly unpacked for us, showing that one of the lawyers appearing in his courtroom is actually a part of the referral network of one of the illegal alien networks that he is funding with him and his wife's money. So we'll go into that. We'll see what he just did. Remember, he was ordering Todd Lyons from ICE to get his butt over to Minnesota, and in his courtroom by tomorrow said, get in here or else, issued an order to show cause, which is basically you're reporting to the principal's office. But he has now backtracked on that. We'll take a look at some other litigation that is also happening here from the DOJ, Kristi Noem and team responding back to the state of Minnesota. Of course, Keith Ellison and the rest of those goons. So we're having a battle there about Operation Metro Surge, and so we'll have some updates on that. And then some more from Tom Homan. A couple of clips. He was out all morning explaining what's coming next, and he is reminding us that justice is coming. So we're excited to get into that. And looks like we might be having some locals problems over on the locals tubes. I think I see that. All right, so we're going to keep our eye on that, locals friends. And then we got one final segment, which we'll get into, man, because they're getting nervous there over in Fannyland, Fulton County. You see this photograph is Tulsi Gabbard, and she was on scene lurking in the shadows, kind of like Batman, while the feds were gobbling up all those Fulton County files that we think are highly fraudulent. So some fun stuff to react to here. Lots of melting down. We've got Fulton County chairman, we've got the Senator Ossoff, we've got Board of Commissioners, all these various people saying, don't look at our files, because you're going to find out that we are fraudsters, and we don't want you to discover that. So, of course, we want to discover that, so we're going to be here to dig into that. And then more reaction. We've got Senators Warner and even Janice Johnston over from Fulton County, who's been digging in on this, and Colton Moore and many people from Georgia, all reacting to the FBI raid, and we're excited to get into that. All right, and so we're just double checking little locals activity to make sure hopefully we're coming in some way, shape, or form. But before we get into this, you know what we've got to talk about? Weight loss, losing some weight. You know, a lot of people are talking about all these injections and these pills and all of these things. And you see kind of people's like entire bodies and like faces like just melt off their bodies, right? But there are other ways that this can function. Of course, we're talking about losing weight, and you may not want to do those injections, especially when you hear about some of these side effects, like, you know, I will leave those alone. But doctors created a weight loss supplement called Lean, and the results are remarkable. The studied ingredients in Lean work basically the same way that these other drugs do. They're shown to lower your blood sugar, they burn fat by converting it to energy, and they curb your appetite and your cravings. So you're just not as hungry. And so Lean is just not for the casual dieter with only a few pounds to lose. In fact, the doctors over here at BrickHouse Nutrition, they created Lean for the frustrated dieters with 10 or more pounds to lose. And so you can get started with 20% off right here, free rush shipping, so you can add Lean to your healthy diet and to your exercise plan. And so you can go to takelean.com, enter code Robert, links in the description below. You'll get your discount and you'll start to feel amazing. The promo code is Robert, takelean.com, links in the description below. You can see a bunch of other amazing products over there, so check it out at takelean.com. And thank you for supporting our sponsor and today's show. Now, let's get to business on the day, because we've got a new angle to attend to right here. A new angle confirms that Alex Pretti was not the innocent nurse that they continue to say he is or was. You see, this was the opposite side of the prior video that we've looked at here, which was this one, which was brought to our attention yesterday, courtesy of Steve Guest. And this came over from the BBC. And it was apparently part of a recording or a live stream of this young man. And it shows Alex Pretti right there, who is spitting, we suspected, on federal agents, which of course that is assault, and that not to mention criminal damage on the back of that federal vehicle. So they came out. We heard all about the incident, about his broken rib, whatever. He gets tackled to the ground. You'll see there's a firearm also right in there as he stands up. And we now have the opposite angle of this. So they get out of the vehicle. They cordon off the scene. He's basically doing the same thing that he did when he got shot and killed. And as soon as they're done, you're going to see he'll kind of stand up, show his back to us, and you'll see the firearm in the holster. Everybody else is screaming out there. We're going to look at the opposite end of this. So there he goes right there. Right? You see that firearm right there, tucked in that back right hip. And then the scene continues on. Now, you saw all of that, and they didn't, of course, you know, we didn't know this, but I'm sure his family did. I'm sure other people around him did. I'm sure many in Minnesota knew the truth about this guy. All of the people in the Ice Watch groups, I'm sure all knew who this guy was, but they all just kind of let the media cover for them. They're like, no, he's an innocent man. He was just there peacefully walking his dog down the street to go get a Subway sandwich with Jussie. And then this all happened to him like he's just some innocent bystander. And of course, that's not the case. He is part of an insurgency group that is organized, highly organized, according to a Green Beret, about as organized as any other insurgency that he's worked on eliminating in the Middle East during his time over there. And of course, that's very concerning for the country. But now we're learning about the truth here, and we've got another angle that shows exactly just what an unhinged individual this person was. And this provides the full context. And by the way, a lot of people yesterday were saying that this video was AI, that it was not real. They're looking at some, granulated, pixelated, fast moving images and saying, oh, they just spit this out of GPT and it's not real. Well, how about this? Now you look at this one in nice resolution and you can see the opposite angle. And this goes for 20 minutes. We don't need to watch the full thing, but let me just parse through it a little bit for full effect so you can see how this whole ordeal started about 20 minutes before it went down. Volume. That's the sound, okay? If I let it go, see how annoying it is for everybody out there. This is part of a psychological attack, which is in their manuals. They said that their entire purpose of having the whistles, yes, is to alert everybody else, but it's also to distract everybody from doing their jobs. It's also to increase the psychological tension. That's their words, not ours, in their manual, in order to increase the pressure, right? To make it difficult to do their jobs. In other words, what's another word for that? Oh, obstruction. So we turn the volume back on. And people are deploying in rapid form. So now all of the goons that we were talking about previously in the signal leaks that we've been covering all week here are all texting and chatting each other. Oh, I'm in the corner at 36 and whatever. Oh, I see this. Remember the salute, SALUTE. The size, the thing, you know, how many weapons? What do they got? What's the formation? Deploy it all back. Then somebody at dispatch sends other insurgents to backfill their efforts. And as we parse through, we'll see that it starts to get a little bit busier. More people show up, and now even more people show up. So now we fast forward 5 minutes, and it is springing into action. Okay, their operations, their air tables, everything is whirring like crazy. And we continue on, and it gets busier and busier. And then eventually, we're going to see Alex Pretti show up back over there in this region at about 17 minutes. So we're at about 9 minutes now, and I was parsing through this earlier. And let's see where he comes onto the scene. We're about 12 minutes. Then we get to 13 minutes. And by about, let's go to 14, 15. And we still don't look like we see him exactly at 15 minutes. But by the time we get to 17 minutes, he's going to be on screen. So let's parse forward a little bit and get some volume. Okay, somebody else shows up. Somebody else running up. Okay, now at about 17 in just a little bit, we're going to see more people are coming down the street. You can see from both sides, from back this angle and from this side, this direction. So the crew has been dispatched. And then we see Pretti come running in. You see that right there? Come sprinting in. Right there. Screaming. Raging. F you. 17 minutes. Screaming F words. Sorry for the kids out there. Okay, you can hear him loud and clear. You pepper spray B, F you, F you. Spit right there. Just like Ahmad Sadir from yesterday, or Nasir Ahmad, who is hawking loogies and then suddenly claimed she was victimized, maybe smashed her head into a wall or something and then said, oh, look what they did to me. And it's the same MO. So again, he's spitting. That's assault. That's felony on an officer, federal agent. And then it continues. Effing trash, kick, kick, kick. Lunatic. Lunatic. Then they go take him down. Then, of course, everybody swarms. And they're now in victim mode. Now he's being attacked. How can he attack an innocent protester? He's just a legal observer. He's just here exercising his First Amendment rights. And then they come and they tackle him. And of course, then he goes, complains to the media and whatever. And you know the rest of the story. So they should have arrested him for that. He spit on a federal agent. He then committed damage, criminal damage to the back of their car, multiple felonies. He had a firearm on him during the commission of those crimes, maybe an aggravator at sentencing, or worse. But again, you see the crowd. You see how this works. He's part of the team. He got the call. That's why he went sprinting in from the side, right? He was going there because he got the message. He got the deployment. Now, other people are coming out. They circle up around him. It's like a war zone. It's dozens of people now packing the corners, all part of an operation. It's all part of an insurgency. And they want to keep it, less than kinetic. That guy's out there to make it get about as close to that line as you possibly can. And so let's play this out just a little bit longer. We're at 18. It goes to about 1950. Back on some volume here. Whistles kind of stop. People dispersing. or that guy gets in a car. Whoever's recording this looks like they got in a car so that they didn't have to breathe that in. See if we pick up the rest of Pretti here. So finally they leave. Now they can leave. Okay, otherwise they're not leaving. They've got people packing the streets, attacking them, spitting on them with their disgusting saliva. Oh, gosh. And let's see if we pan back over to Pretti. We do not. And so that was the scene. Now, we also were able to connect the two. So somebody did a little bit of a side-by-side, which I thought was very interesting here. And we're showing both angles in a composite, essentially. And so you can just watch these side-by-side. We don't really need as much audio because it's just obnoxious. But you can see back-to-back. So all the AI people, all this is not Pretti. All this is somebody completely different. You give us a break. You can watch him spitting both sides. It's all synced up completely, like multicam. That's the innocent nurse that all of the left is just basically George Floyding right now. It's wild to see. They do this constantly. They turn him into George Floyd. This is another Charlottesville. It's another ridiculous hoax. And it's obvious what happened here. And it's part of a pattern in practice. Now, you don't get to go execute somebody for something that happened, a week ago. It's not how our justice system works, but that's not what happened. Now, that's what they're trying to reframe as though happened. That like this was a vengeance or something, because they want to find Homeland and federal agents are just automatically murdering fascists. But the truth is, as we can see here, this was a violent agitator who is a part of an insurgency, who has a history of obstructing and attacking federal agents, which is exactly what he was doing. It didn't rise to this level yet, but it was rising to that level. He was just on scene much more quickly than at this incident. They were there doing the I'm a dumb observer. Oh, I'm just a dumb protester, just bumbling into the street. Get out of the street. They walk back into the street. Get out of the street. Walk back into the street. And obstruct the operation. So you can't allow that to happen, obviously. And now this is coming out. And what I think is interesting here is if he would have been arrested, he probably would still be alive and charged with a federal crime. Would probably still be alive. And so who is responsible for arresting, let's say, local crimes? Oh yeah, local cops. The federal agents are there for federal immigration jurisdiction. They don't have the capacity to just round up all these street criminals, or insurgents rather. They do, I mean, if we want to really get down to it, but that's not why they're there. They're not there to police Americans. They're there to just go do immigration enforcement. These people are the ones who are now committing crimes against the federal agents. If the local cops would have done their jobs and arrested Alex Pretti on that day, he'd still be alive. But they didn't do that because they're fighting for whatever. Actually, I think they just really want riots, to be perfectly honest with you. I think that they think this is a winning issue for them in the long term, and it might be. But they are responsible for his death. So maybe the Pretti family should sue the local cops. And by the way, maybe they will. And they settled with George Floyd's family for like $30 million, so maybe they'll get that too. But we see that the individual is clearly the same individual. And in fact, the family, I think now is confirming some of this. We saw CBS News just came out with this about 3 hours ago, saying that videos show 37-year-old Alex Pretti confronting federal immigration officers on a Minneapolis street 11 days before he was shot, confirmed, in another encounter with Custom and Border Protection agents. Now, a representative of Pretti's family said they knew about the incident and that he sustained injuries, but did not receive medical care. Oh, so they didn't speak out about this either, did they? They just let the innocent nurse, peaceful dog-walking protester narrative fester. He's seen kicking and damaging the taillight of a government SUV. The vehicle then stops and federal agents emerge and tackle him to the ground. Later in the video, officers deploy chemical irritants to the street. And did they mention the spit? I don't think so. And another number of other people are shouting and honking their horns and more. He was wearing very similar clothing to the other insurgency that he was when he was on call. And so they have a little bit of a different angle here, or a different video. Let's check in on this one. So it looks like it's the same one. But anyways, they're confirming it too. And then it looks like here's another angle of another video that they picked up from somebody else. Let's watch this. Okay, right over there. Should have taken him into custody. But, of course, they're not there for that, so they just kind of settle him down, push the crowd back, and leave. More people piling in. Everyone's screaming at him. All of that in an effort to try to cause an incident, because then you can exploit their death for your political cause, like demonic freaks. But they're very good at this. They did it with George Floyd. Every single time something happens, they try to turn it into Maryland man. Oh, he's a Maryland man. No, he's not. He's an illegal human trafficker from Guatemala. And again, they're just hounding them. Look at them. Hounding. They call that peaceful protesting. Is that what that is, really? It's like a war zone. But they love it. Now, this is what they want. This is why we're getting very squirmy language from Tim Walz and Jacob Frey. We've got some of that queued up here. But what's interesting is that our friend Maze Moore over on X, he created this nice little composition for us. The story of Alex Pretti, as told by one of the greatest Native American storytellers in American history, Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren.
Caring for people was at the core of who he was.
Yeah.
He was incapable of causing harm.
Right.
Alex carried patience, compassion, and calm as a steady light within him. Even at the very end, that light was there. I recognized his familiar stillness and signature calm composure.
Wow. Wow, beautiful. Thank you, Elizabeth. Pocahontas. Beautiful. I'm moved to tears. I can't even speak. Now, what's also happening here is that the Democrats are so dumb that they're taking AI photos and talking about them on the floor of the Senate. This is a sitting senator called Dick Durbin, who was doing a whole speech in front of this today. And what did I do with that? I thought I had the full one up here. All right, so you see, we don't need to listen to him. But he did the full speech where he was here. And, of course, this federal agent doesn't have a head. Where'd it go? Because it was just generated by AI. And there's a lot of that going on. We talked about it yesterday, how they turned him into like a GQ model and like put on like 50 pounds of muscle. Alex Pretti, hi, I'm a nurse. All right. Yeah, all over the place because they're just liars. And they love to lie about these things and just kind of elevate somebody like a hagiography, kind of turn them into a saint, anoint them. And we saw that from a couple people. First of all, this lady, short clip, Anna Navarro. He's so perfect. He's so dreamy. Here's what she said until she had to eat her words. This was out yesterday. And then the video comes out. This guy's like roundhousing federal vehicles.
They chose to, they killed the wrong guy, right? Because this is like the perfect guy. Alex Pretti is the guy you would want to date your daughter. The guy you would want your son to grow up to be, a decent human being who was serving humanity, serving sick veterans, who is, there is nothing that has been said about that man that isn't wonderful. And so
then he's hawking loogies on federal agents. Like, wow, they might like that. I think that actually is probably their type of man, but I don't. Maybe not, because do they like men at all? I don't think so. Anyways, here's just another one real short. You can see what they're doing. So when they get caught like this, then they send out the media. Everybody goes out. All the deputies go out and just hit the airwaves, man. Just go. Just hit it. Because you got to brainwash the people before the Republicans do, before the truth comes out. It's an info war. Alex Jones was right. It's happening, and they just go out, and they don't care about the truth. They don't care about watching him hawk loogies on agents. They just come out and they say stuff like this.
There really are no words. It was a deeply moving experience. As I said, I felt like I was standing on holy ground. Alex Pretti's blood cries out to us. We are better than this. We can do better than this. Really,
Alex Pretti, is he like the Eucharist or something? What the hell is he talking about? Like Jesus? Holy ground. It's just like what they did with George Floyd. It's just like what they did with Brian Sicknick, remember, who died of natural causes, the January 6th cop. Like a cop died. He had like a stroke the next day. Capitol Hill police talked about it. Natural causes. That's their website, not me. But they had a state funeral for him because this is what they do. And they're pretty good at it. A lot of people then get brainwashed. They're like, wow, he must have been amazing because Raphael Warnock, the Reverend Senator Raphael, was out talking about it. But the truth is, these are radicals. And Representative Andy Biggs, who's running for governor in Arizona to beat the heck out of Katie Hobbs, he said, look, here's the bottom line. All right, radical officials in Minnesota are protecting these people, the Emmers, the Rers, the PDF files, by refusing to hand over illegal aliens to ICE. The unrest would cease if officials would stop inciting it, if they would do their jobs, if they would comply with the law, if they would go arrest Alex Pretti. Why are they not defending the limits of peaceful protesting? Weren't they just hyperventilating over January 6th for like 4 freaking years? How about they just say, oh, no, don't kick federal agents. Don't spit on them, right? We're the ones that hold the line to save our democracy. Whatever. None of that matters because these are their agitators. And actually on January 6th, many of those were their agitators too, and the FBI elsewhere. And they're happy to see it. I don't think that we can trust these guys at all. That's an understatement. But here's Andy Biggs. Says they could stop this if they wanted to, which is the point. They don't want to.
Look, what Minnesota officials are trying to do is interfere with lawful ICE operations. They don't like the way they've gone down, but ICE has authority to act. If Minnesota was actually complying, they'd be turning over these violent criminals that ICE is looking for at the jails. And then all of this need for this unrest or outside operations would dissolve. They are, I can't say this enough, they are protecting rapists, pedophiles, murderers, and assaulters. That's what they want to protect.
Yeah, and it's also more than that. They also want to protect their political power and their base. Here is something that maybe shouldn't have been said out loud from Jayapal. And there's this new narrative going on that Trump is not invoking the Insurrection Act right now because he wants to save it for the midterms. Dun, dun, dun. Jayapal says voter ID laws are a form of voter intimidation. There's only one reason to not want voter laws, says Western Lensman. We got to pass the SAVE Act, but listen to this little slip here.
This is a huge issue. We're filing cases in court around states that are trying to suppress voters, refuse to provide water to people at the polls, all the ways in which voters are intimidated, including, as you mentioned, new ID requirements that Republicans are trying to get into many places.
Yeah, and so if the Insurrection Act is invoked, then all of the illegals won't be voting. And that might be devastating for their election campaigns. So we also saw this short one from Ilhan Omar. I think she's saying Stephen Miller, who I'm pretty sure is Jewish, is a copycat of the Nazis, which is pretty wild accusation from this woman. Here is how off the rails they are over there.
Nobody should ever have hired Stephen Miller, who basically is a copycat of the Nazis, and that's kind of the cruelty that he wants to inflict on people. Nobody should.
All right, so that's what they're saying now. I guess Jewish people in the administration are Nazis. Wow. So there's more of this. The Soros-backed DA is also just completely unhinged. I'll spare you the clip here, but I'm just kind of sharing this with you because they're arming up, like they're not backing down. They're actually continuing to have these Zoom meetings where they're contemplating how they can create their lists and enact revenge when the time is theirs. So he's out doing the same thing. And Hakeem Jeffries, this one was raising some eyebrows today because he said that Kristi Noem needs to be put on ice, which means dead. She's got to be put on ice immediately, says Timu Obama.
It's disgraceful. She's got to go. We are dead serious. She needs to be put on ice permanently.
Damn.
She's got to go. And by the way, she's not the only one.
Wow. So they're going to come and put all of us on ice if they can. And they're working on that, man. Their 5,000 air table is going to get a lot more full if they take power. So put on ice permanently. We know what that means. Trump said fight like hell, and that meant like murder half America. What does that mean there, Hakeem? Will he be condemned by Jake Tapper on CNN for increasing the political tone of violence, refusing to turn the tone down? Well, I doubt it. But here was Tom Homan. He was also out today and got a couple of clips from him. Continuing on, he was explaining that we're going to continue to work in spite of these Democrats. They're lunatics. They're attacking our federal agents for going after some of the worst people in the world for based on what they do to kids and to other, disabled and very bad. They're bad. Here's Tom Homan.
I also want to remember the politicians are continually attacking us. Where were they the last 4 years?
Yeah.
When the number of women and children sex trafficking went all-time high. Where were they when 250,000 Americans died from fentanyl coming across the border? Where were they when women and children are dying making that journey? Where were they when over 4,000 families making that journey died? Historic record.
Yep.
Where were they? Not a word.
Cheering it on, actually.
Now we're just trying to respond to what happened the last 4 years and keeping this country safe. And we're arresting a lot of public safety threats, take them off the streets, which make this country safer. President Trump promised to make this country safe again, and that's what we're doing. I also want to remember.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, and it's always been so interesting to get lectured by the Democrats about how they're the humanitarians. You say, that's interesting. Your policies are causing people to leave their homelands, sacrifice maybe kids. We've seen images and stories about kids just dropped off in the river on the way up, getting abused, attacked, hospitalized, murdered, eliminated, because the Democrats have created some sort of an incentive for them. And on the way, we've also seen, illegal aliens packed in the back of semi-trucks, melting in the Texas heat. And then when they get here finally, after suffering all of that abuse, then the Democrats are basically acceptable having them as second-class citizens, almost pseudo-slaves. Well, they'll do the jobs Americans won't do. Okay, so Americans are better than them and they can be like a slave class and just kind of work for less and live for less and just be like in this gray area forever in perpetuity because you don't want to pay reasonable wages to hire an American to clean your pool like I got to do. And then they turn around and say, because we're good people and you're bad people. That's all a lie. They want power. They want votes. They want to increase the social safety net. They want to consolidate power permanently. And I got to say, Tom Homan's approach here is pretty reasonable. He's kind of like coming in here like the fatherly figure in a way. There's been a lot of energy on this, rightfully so, and we've long been in favor, if we're going to have a decision between drawing down in Minnesota or doubling down, we're on team double down, but doesn't look like we're going that way. But if you have, the elder statesman come in the room, the same guy who got the award from Obama, who put a big fat medal around his neck when he was working for Barry, he comes back in, does the reasonable thing, hey, let me just talk nicely, rather than some of the more like high energy WWE kind of feel that we got from, let's say, Bovino. So that's Homan. Now, we've also got more because we see here that Tim Walz is calling it. He says, I'm out. He knows he's so cooked that he's got really no other options. If he runs again, all the fraud stuff is going to come up. If he says he's going to run again, then he's going to be investigated probably more aggressively by his political opponents, right? They'll look into this and try to use something. And so if he just hands in the keys, maybe the DOJ will leave him alone. I sure hope that is not the case because remember what they told us. No one is above the law. Here's Tim Walz.
Before such a consequential moment? No, and part of it was to look. I recognize that I'm a lightning rod, and this is a tough space for I'm in because I know they hate me personally, and they take it out on my constituents because old white guys who are former governors tend to land on their feet, okay, type of thing. But in all fairness, on the timing, I removed myself, and then 2 days later, Renee Good is murdered. But I think one of the things is I have no political consideration, will never run for an elected office again.
Never again.
Never again. And I will just do the work. And what I found is, again, I'm going to say this. There's heroes on the streets that we don't know their names. They're never going to run for office. And those grass-top leaders brought this administration to their knees this week to do something about it. So there's other ways to serve, and I'll find them. We're already doing it.
Okay, so I think he's saying that they brought the Trump administration to their knees. Was what I gathered there. But he's also not running again. And that feels like an escape hatch. He just pulled the ripcord to ejection seat to get out of the blast zone. But hopefully that does not happen. Now, the person who will probably fill his seat is Amy Klobuchar. She's now a Democrat, but not long ago, she was much more of a sane person. And we've made this point before. It's like I remember coming up as a boy, I was like, you know, some of the things that like Dennis Kucinich says about like free speech, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I don't want the Patriot Act spying down our gullets and all the things. Like, some of it made sense. And you listen to this and you're like, oh, what the heck has happened to our country and to our party where now Amy Klobuchar is like Team Somali, refugee, TPS, asylee, claims against torture. Oh no, papusa business, whatever. Come on in, bananas and rice, hawk loogies on federal agents, all gravy, as long as she can become the governor. This is Amy Klobuchar back in 2006 running for Senate.
Ms. Klobuchar, Thursday, President Bush signed a law approving a 700-mile fence on the U.S.-Mexican border. Is a fence good immigration policy or just good politics?
I do believe that we need more resources at the border and that includes a fence. What we have now, we have people waiting to come in legally. Thousands of people waiting to come in legally to this country, and we have people coming in illegally. That's not right. We need to get order at the border. But we also have to stop giving amnesty to companies that are hiring illegal immigrants. Under this administration, the number of prosecutions of companies has gone way down. That has to change.
Yeah, it's like the dark side, right? You see in the Star Wars movies how it just twists your face into this mangled mess of evil and doom. That's what power does to these people. They have reasonable policies. We're actually debating about the intensity. Like, I've long said this. Wouldn't it be nice if we had both parties that were like leapfrogging each other over the Second Amendment? They're like, no, we're stronger Second Amendment advocates. Oh, no. F you. No, we're way stronger Second. No, we're making it mandatory. Every American sleeps with a gun under his pillow. Everyone. Oh, yeah? Well, we want one in the shower, too. And how about that? And, everybody's just fighting with each other over more liberty, more rights. But, now it's not that at all. And that's kind of how it was back then. How do we fix this border? And we've been talking about border walls my whole life as an Arizonan. The border, my whole life, all this illegal immigration stuff. It's wild. But over in the Senate, Barrasso said, this is not who they are anymore. What they're doing now is prioritizing illegal immigrants over American citizens because that's their power base. And once again, Democrats are threatening to shut down the government, which is looking like it's going to happen. Democrats want to see chaos all across America. And once again, Republicans are committed to keep the government open. Here's Barrasso from the Senate yesterday.
Democrats are once again threatening to shut down the government, and Democrats are once again prioritizing illegal immigrants over American safety and American citizens. The Democrats are the party that want to defund the police, and now they want to defund our nation's security. You shut down the government heading into this weekend. That means no money for FEMA at a time when half of the country is under the impact of this terrible storm and another storm is coming. Shutting down the government also impacts TSA, air traffic control, all of those things. The Democrats will be causing chaos all across America. There are 6 appropriation bills in the Senate ready to be passed. The Democrats have had full input into all of them, and they have all passed the House. Overwhelming bipartisan numbers. Republicans are committed to working with the Democrats to keep the government open.
All right. So we're going to see what happens ultimately. But today in the White House, we had a cabinet meeting. And here was the president giving us an update on the latest at the border and what Kristi Noem and others are up to.
Had an amazing year, and this will be our first cabinet after the year, so we're starting our second year. tremendous progress has been made. I want to thank my entire cabinet for 12 months of unprecedented achievements. We really have. I mean, it's unprecedented. The numbers we've had on the economy and growth, you see them. And that's despite a Democrat shutdown. Without the shutdown, we would have picked up about 1.5 points more than already high numbers, record-setting numbers. So this has been, I think, and a lot of people say it, the most successful year of any administration in American history. First year, there's never been a first year like this, including the fact that we extinguished 8 wars, and another one we think is coming. Steve Witkoff's working very hard, and Jared and everybody else, and I think it's coming. It was just announced that the murder rate in our country is the biggest drop ever recorded. It's at the lowest level in 125 years. First in recorded history, it's the lowest in at least 125 years. It's a wonderful thing. And that crime is way down, and one of the reasons was we've taken a lot of bad people and gotten them out of our country. In some cases, they're so bad that we put them in prison because we don't want them to even take a chance of coming back in, even though our border is very secure, record-setting secure. We had 0 illegal aliens being admitted into our country for the last 8 months. That's hard for even me to believe, but the people that make up the lists are supposedly nonpartisan, but I would say they lean toward the Democrat side. And if they say that, I'm all for it.
All right, so the borders are getting locked down. Meanwhile, the Democrats in Minnesota are seemingly continuing to obstruct, but Tom Homan is there. We'll keep our eye on it, of course, and see what comes next. Now, let's turn our attention to some litigation because we see a very interesting order just came down. Federal judge out of Minnesota just backtracked big time. You see, this order came down. We had Kristi Noem and Todd Lyons under the gun. The judge called Schlitz, who we've talked about here before, who has a very questionable conflict of interest, let's say, by donating to illegal alien lawyer groups, now issued an order canceling a prior order. And it was a big order. It was called an order to show cause. And he said, Todd Lyons, you have to get into my courtroom and explain what the heck's going on here in Minnesota, dragging him in as the acting director of ICE to answer questions for this judge. And we remember who this judge is because Bill Melugin said, oh yeah, remember Patrick Schlitz? His name showed up on this donor list. We talked about it earlier this week, Patrick and Elizabeth Schlitz. And they donate to the Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota. Oh, how curious. And they have now confirmed that it is them, in fact. Per sources familiar with this, Judge Schlitz also declined the probable cause on an arrest warrant for Don Lemon and a handful of other protesters who stormed the church in Minnesota. He also declined after federal magistrate judge Miko declined. Okay, so multiple judges now who have very concerning conflicts of interest. Remember, Judge Miko, his wife, works for Keith Ellison, the same Keith Ellison who was doing podcasts with Don Lemon saying, Don, you're innocent. No one's going to charge you. So the judge does what his wife's boss wants him to do. Then this other judge who donates to illegal alien lawyer defense funds also doesn't issue a warrant for Don Lemon. And they responded to Fox News. They said, I have donated for many years to the Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota, confirmed by the judge. I have also donated for many years to Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid. I believe that poor people should be able to get legal representation. You mean poor people or illegal alien people? Because those are, or can be, different categories. And is it generally disadvantaged people, or is it disadvantaged people of a certain type? Because if it is, and they have a claim in front of you and you have a predisposition for them, maybe you're going to be conflicted when there's a matter that appears before you, as he is. And our friend Julie Kelly also found this out too. She said, oh, this is very curious. Look at here. Said in a further conflict of interest, this judge, who is now backtracking, says that this immigration lawyer who's actually on this case shows up in their referral system. Here's what I mean. When you go over to their website, here's what it looks like. Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota. Give today to assist immigrants and refugees in Minnesota. And everybody's a refugee. Everybody's temporary protected status. Everyone's under attack, gonna be tortured, gonna be killed. Papusa business, little under budget this quarter, so I need to come to America. They raise money and then hand it out to the illegals. And a lot of this, I would suspect, is also coming from government grants and government programs. So all of this is on their website. And if you check it out and you look into their referral list, right? Oh, you need a lawyer? Yeah, here's our list. Here, go hire these people. The following attorneys specialize in immigration, but are not employees. This is not a comprehensive list. And so just take a look and hire any one of these people. Well, guess who shows up on this list over here? As soon as we shrink the size of this red pen over here. Gosh, that's a little large. Here you see this name. Bum-ba-da-bum, right here. Graham Ohala Barbour. Graham Ohala Barbour. That's a lawyer on their referral list. And guess who's on this order? Oh, from the judge right here. Who is representing the petitioner? In this case, Juan. Olaha Barbour, right there. Shout out to Julie Kelly for that connection. Good eye. And Ohala Barbour Law Firm right there. Interesting. So if we follow the bouncing ball, the judge gives money to this immigrant firm. Immigrant firm uses that money to create a referral list. Illegal goes there, gets the money that is for the representation that the judge gave to them, and then hires a friend of this agency who then goes and files a petition in the judge's courtroom. All one big, disgusting, incestuous family. Isn't that fun? And then the judge just grants orders in favor of the illegal alien, also in interest of the immigrant firm to which he donates. One giant scam. And around we go. And then they lecture us and they're like, oh, judges found that ICE is in multiple violations and they're doing bad things. Spare me. You guys can see it as clear as day, just right here in the documents. And they won't recuse themselves. They'll say there's no conflict of interest at all. In fact, I do donate because I think poor people should have lawyers. Sick, right? Anyways, here's what the order ultimately says. And I do believe, yeah, here's the order. Nope, that's the wrong motion. Here's the order. Judge came out and he originally, if we remember, said, Todd Lyons, you have to be in my courtroom on Friday. If you're not in my courtroom on Friday, you're in big trouble. I'm going to hold you in contempt and all the things. He issued an order to show cause and said, get here or else. Then we got this came out. On January 8th, this illegal Juan filed a writ of habeas corpus because he comes in, he says, you can't deport me. Who do you think you are, the federal government? I'm an illegal alien in America. I have all the rights in the world. Van Hollen and Tim Walz said so. So I'm filing a petition. So the court then issued an order requiring respondents to file an answer no later than January 12th. So it says, government, you guys got to respond. He says you can't detain him. And I'm ordering you to respond. And all the illegals are filing. It's like hundreds, if not thousands of these going on. Again, they're overwhelming the system, just like they're doing in the middle of the streets. All the ACLU lawyers, many of whom were getting paid for years through government grants and government contracts and, the grift from USAID, all of it funding these, standing up these legal institutions. So then they said, you have to respond. They didn't respond. Government says, we're not responding, or we just can't respond, right? They're just overwhelmed. So accordingly, the court said, oh, well, if you're not going to respond to this illegal, then you have to give him a bond hearing. You have to give him an opportunity to let him out. So again, remember, we've got kind of two competing systems here. We've got the immigration courts, which are Article 2 courts. They exist under the executive branch. And then you have the Article 3 courts, which are the courts that you will get tried in if you're charged with a crime. Separate systems. One, and by design, by the way, because one is more administrative. Illegal aliens don't get jury trials in our Article 3 courts before they get deported. They get an administrative hearing because they're not citizens. More or less, essentially, you can think of it similar to like if you get a DUI, you get prosecuted in criminal courts. Those are the Article 3 courts, but your driver's license and your suspension and all of those things are administrative issues. So those are handled by the executive branch, typically the MVD. It's administrative. You don't get the same due process. You don't get a jury trial to debate your license suspension because it's a privilege. It's not a right. You're an illegal. You're not a citizen. Due process is relative to your status. What process are you due based on where you're at? Got it. So then this judge says, all right, now I'm ordering you on Article 3 court is reaching into Article 2 and saying you have to give him an immigration bond hearing. Unless you respond to me, I'm now ordering you in Article 2 land to do whatever I say. Separation of powers problem. They say no. Respondents didn't do that. They neither held a bond hearing within the required time and they didn't release him. They just gave him a big middle. The court then issued an order to show cause hearing and scheduled it. And they said, Todd, you better get in here from ICE. The court also noted that if the parties filed the stipulation saying that Juan had been released, you have to release this illegal or else Todd Lyon, the acting director of ICE, is into my courtroom. Then you'll cancel the hearing if they do that. So the parties have now filed a stipulation. Juan, that little amigo, is now free in America, thanks to this judge who, again, as we saw, donates to legal defense funds for illegal aliens, that then pays for the defense, that then hires referred lawyers who are part of that organization and then shows right back up in his courtroom. And then he just writes them, oh, let him go. The parties have now filed the stipulation, and so Juan Amigo is now gone. That does not end this court's concerns. And attached is another order, and there's 74 more cases like this because all the gangbang and ACLU illegal alien lawyers are crashing in here. The extent of ICE's non-compliance with this is understated. This list is confined and mistakes were made, and this list was busily compiled by busy judges. But this should give pause to anyone. It should give pause to you, Judge. How dare you become a judicial activist to this extent? Or anyone who cares about the rule of law. Spare us the lecture. You're defending illegal aliens and you're paying for it, and then they're coming in your courtroom. You should be conflicted off this case. Cares about the rule of law. ICE has likely violated more court orders than other federal agencies have violated in their entire existence. Pay attention to your own jurisdiction and your own branch of government. The entire judiciary is acting like the president. Almost every one of these orders would not even be contemplated back during a different president. But you guys are executing a judicial coup because you hate the policy, and your financial donations confirm that you prefer illegal aliens. So you're a biased partisan person. Don't hide behind the veil of your robe when we can all see right through it. Juan asked that the court schedule a hearing so he can present evidence. And if Juan wants to seek monetary damages, then Juan, the illegal alien, can sue us and get civil damages, okay? So we'll pay for these illegal aliens. I'm so sick of this crap, man. Where the hell is Congress just sitting around not doing anything on impeaching these guys? This is crazy. The judge is literally telling this illegal alien, go sue them and then get monetary damages. We'll pay you $1 million for illegal detention. So he says, I'm not going to hold the hearing. Since you released this illegal person back into the country, based on that, I am going to cancel Todd Lyon's mandatory appearance back here on Friday. Signed by Patrick Schlitz and his wife, who both donate to illegal alien defense funds. And then when their cases show up in his courtroom, he grants them the remedy in America. And that's justice, right? How about due process, right? Did you ever think that illegal aliens would get extra process where the judges would pay for their legal defense services and then rule on their motions in their courtroom? Wow. Man, it would be amazing if that happened for American citizens. Does that ever happen for American citizens ever? Probably not. Mostly, though, illegals, though. So it's absolutely outrageous. Makes my blood boil. But the DOJ is continuing to fight. In another matter, we remember that Keith Ellison, who is doing podcasts with Don Lemon and maybe coercing a judge's wife into protecting and immunizing Don, they sued Kristi Noem. And Kristi Noem and the DOJ have now responded. They said, all right, listen, Operation Metro Surge will continue. And what's happening here is an unprecedented attack on us. What you're trying to do is halt federal law enforcement operations and evict federal officers from the state. And they're doing that. They're saying that the 10th Amendment prevents the feds from coming in and enforcing immigration law. Obviously, that's ridiculous. We explained why, the DOJ says, their original theories that said 10th Amendment, commandeering, and all these things were legally insane. And so they changed. They pivoted to a new strategy from Keith and the Minnesota lawyers. Then they said, no, Operation Metro Surge, it violates the 10th Amendment because it constitutes an effort to punish the plaintiffs. It's meant to make them change their policies. They say, again, that's even dumber. You guys suck. So to start, their factual premise is unsupported. Right now they're saying, okay, you can enforce federal immigration law. Like, yeah, we're wrong on that. 10th Amendment is dumb. We read through their complaint. We said they're dumb. And they go, okay, yeah, that was kind of dumb. However, we're going to shift it now. Now we're going to just say that Trump is attacking us. And there is no legitimate enforcement of immigration law. This is just retribution. So they say, ridiculous. The purpose of this surge is to enforce federal law. We're allowed to do that. In fact, the executive branch has conclusive and preclusive authority to do so. It's ours. And when we make the decision to do it, it's our decision. You don't get to substitute your judgment. You're Congress, you're a judge. You don't get to substitute your judgment in for the presidency. And that's what we're doing. Now, the statements which they rely, they're saying that we're trying to coerce them. And that would be commandeering. But they don't explain how any of this is even happening. This instead is a novel and remarkable theory. They say a facially valid exercise of federal law converts into some nefarious motive just because somebody says it does. They rely almost exclusively on other decisions in validating the affirmative, the Health Care Act, Affordable Care Act, which was not so affordable at all. But now you can see the court should not massively expand the 10th Amendment and just say, if they allege you're doing something nefarious, then you are. That would contravene the Constitution. We have the Take Care Clause, we have the Supremacy Clause, and if you interpret it this way, then that would shred both those to bits. First of all, their theory fails at the beginning. It violates the Constitution. Article 2 of the Constitution says the executive branch does executive things. With this power, the executive branch can enforce federal laws. We also had the Supremacy Clause, and under that, it says no state can impede federal law. So their new theory fails. The purpose of Operation Metro has been to enact federal law. We've been doing this for a long time. There's no dispute about that at all. Even in their reply, they came back out and they said that Trump was being mean on social media. He was posting things that they argue are coercive, and that Trump is then using this excuse to go in and coerce them into changing their policies, which they then frame as punishment. They say it's not punishment. This is a natural consequence of your policies. We have an obligation as the federal government to enforce federal law. We can't just sit by and allow you to break the federal law. So now you're facing adverse consequences. That's your decision. We're not punishing you for these things since you're not helping us. We have no option but to go in. And they're relying on a single social media post. But that is a very irrelevant statement. And this single reference to retribution doesn't justify ordering the entire operation to end. And so beyond these statements, they say that they're going beyond just arresting the worst of the worst. And they say, well, that's our prerogative about how to interpret that. You don't get to define for us how law enforcement operates. It is reserved exclusively to the executive for federal operations. And so you have no claim. Because the record also does not even come close to supporting any coercion here, any 10th Amendment argument is just a non-starter. The purpose of Operation Metro Surge is federal immigration law. Those are the same laws that have been on the books forever. And in other cases that they're trying to bring up, there is no relevant framework that compares. No court has ever expanded anything beyond that context. And if you do that here, you're going to be encroaching on our powers. Now, to our knowledge, no court has ever extended any of that reasoning beyond the spending clause either. And there were explicit conditions in the other cases that they're seeking, so they're just distinguishing this case. They say, this case is amazing for us, Minnesota. They say, no, it's not. It's a dumb case. So any injunction against coercive actions would result in the court superintending federal immigration enforcement. You would be taking over our job. You're not allowed to do that. And so we would have to come back to you. And to avoid contempt, would we have to move for relief every single time we want to send an officer into Minnesota, excuse me, Judge, hi, can we come in now, please? That makes you the executive. Would the court then have to adjudicate, is it a proper purpose, or can you allow them to come in to do this thing? Putting it all together, the theory from the Minnesotans is that a court can take any facially legitimate exercise of federal power, say that there's an illegitimate purpose to coerce somebody to do something, and then encroach on the federal government. That's not a standard that is workable at all. And the framework that they're alleging works doesn't. They have not changed any of their policies on immigration enforcement. In fact, they have doubled down. They've confirmed here that federal action is coercive. They've said that they will never enforce immigration law. They're saying the same thing. Look at their social media posts. They're saying, well, it's going to hurt our budget, going to hurt our revenue and all those things, but doesn't matter. Executive branch has the supremacy clause and conclusive and preclusive discretion over how, when, where, and why to enforce federal law. Tim Walz and Jacob Frey don't get to override and supersede that. So the court should reject their attempt to import this doctrine in here and deny their motion for a preliminary injunction. So again, that's from the DOJ, a little litigation there, and we're waiting for the court to make a decision on that. Can the Operation Metro Surge continue? A federal judge is going to decide that here momentarily. So of course, we'll keep our eye on that. But Tom Homan is saying, we're going to be here until the job is done. We're not going anywhere, punk, so get used to it.
I've been on the ground less than 3 full days. I got in here Monday. President of the United States called me Monday morning and asked me to deploy here. Got here Monday evening, and I'm staying till the problem's gone. But we've made a lot of progress in the last 3 days.
And if you don't like it and you're a protester there in Minnesota, why don't you go protest to Congress, okay? Go take it up with them. These are federal laws. They've been on the books for a long time. Tom Homan got a medal from Barack Obama. Now he's there. So hopefully they stop blowing their whistles and start turning in the illegals.
I begged for the last 2 months on TV for the rhetoric to stop. I said in March, if the rhetoric didn't stop, there's going to be bloodshed. And there has been. I wish I wasn't right. I don't want to see anybody die. Not officers, not members of the community, and not the targets of our operations. For the people out there that don't like what ICE is doing, if you want certain laws reformed, then take it up with Congress. Again, ICE is making this up. They're enforcing laws enacted by Congress and signed by the President. The same laws have been on the books for the last 6 presidents I worked for. I started with President Reagan and ending with President Trump. Every administration, we enforce the same laws. If you don't like what ICE is doing, instead of protesting this building, go protest Congress. Tell me you want changes.
Yeah, go tell them.
You have your First Amendment rights, I support that.
It's not about protest, though. It's about stopping the enforcement. It's about obstruction. They could go down to City Hall and protest, scream at Tim Walz. They could go to their senator's office. They could all take trips to D.C., use their First Amendment rights, start podcasts. They want physical kinetic blockades to make sure that they cannot be removed.
You have the right to protest. I'm just asking you to keep it peaceful. But threatening law enforcement officers, engaging in impeding and obstruction and assault is never okay. And there will be zero tolerance. You interfere, impede, assault an ICE officers, you will be arrested.
And he does have that dad vibe coming out. It's kind of like, I'm not mad at you. I'm just disappointed. Ugh. Right in the heart. So here's one final moment from Tom today. Don't worry, America. Justice is coming.
Arresting those individuals as well, and to the folks out there in America that voted for this, that want mass deportations because they saw a mass invasion under Joe Biden. What would you say to them? How are we going to get to that point?
Well, first of all, about the organization and the funding of the attacks on ICE. I'm not going to answer a lot about that because I'm not going to show our hand, but they'll be held accountable. Justice is coming. Again, we got to all remember why the questions we've seen and why we're here. What started this? 4 years of an open border.
Yeah.
Where millions of people are letting this country unvetted. Remember, let's not forget, for 4 years, we were told the border was secure.
Arresting those individuals.
Justice is coming, like winter is coming. Reminds me of something epic about to happen. So hopefully we can see some actual progress, right? Some good progress. A little bit of a change in tone there, maybe a little change in strategy. Also kind of see it as like a good cop, bad cop routine. You know, you send somebody in there to kind of do the fireworks and the sparklers, create some ruckus, and then somebody else comes in and cleans it up and says, I know things were a little bit crazy over there. Now let's really get down to business. And we'll see if that works or not. But we cannot forget, we're dealing with people who are operating in bad faith. We're dealing with judges. This guy has a very nice record. Like if you look this judge up, Schlitz, all like the check boxes, like this institutional guy, then comes around, is paying for illegal aliens to appear in his courtroom so then he can then exonerate them. And then will lecture us about not following the law when he's not even abiding by his ethical obligation, which should be to recuse from this case immediately. So the litigation continues. Tom Homan is now there. We're going to keep our eye on this one. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do. Now, we're not done yet because we've got, it's Tulsi time, baby. And here we go. Democrats are freaking out. They saw this photo of Tulsi Gabbard and they all burst out of their pants. You can see, that's a weird analogy, but they lost it. You can see many of them are hitting the cables and explaining why this is another threat and danger to our democracy. So we'll get into it. We also saw that the warrant dropped yesterday, and we were parsing through it as the news was breaking, and it turns out it is a criminal warrant saying that we're here trying to identify evidence that was used in the commission of a criminal offense. And whether they find it or not is going to be another thing that remains to be seen. But the affidavit just gave us a very broad scope of the things that they were looking for. And we were reading this and basically shocked. It was everything. That's why they needed all the trucks to go load it up. But there's further questions about what exactly they're getting and who was signing off on the warrants and who are the U.S. attorneys involved in this. And Greg Bluestein, who was the guy yesterday who ultimately shared the search warrant, shared this one. He said, here's some interesting questions as well. One of the many mysteries about the federal raid of Fulton County's election system is why a federal prosecutor from Missouri is listed on the warrant. Now that would be Thomas Albus, U.S. attorney for the Eastern District and a recent appointee of President Trump. Federal officials aren't saying why this other guy called Theodore Hertzberg, a U.S. attorney for the Northern District of Georgia, isn't named in the document, but his office isn't commenting. So they didn't go through Georgia, the Georgia feds. They went through the Missouri feds. One reason, Liberty Vote. There's a company that bought Dominion voting systems is called Liberty Vote. It's based in St. Louis, Missouri. Georgia relied on Dominion's touchscreen voting system during the 2020 election, and it's long been the target of lawsuits from critics. So maybe this is being run out of Missouri based on the attorneys who were involved in the search warrant. But Tulsi Gabbard was there, and a lot of people are going, oh, because she's the director of national intelligence. Shout out to Brianna Mello over there. And if she is now working with Maduro in federal government custody, maybe she's identified some international or foreign interventions in our elections, and it's an intelligence matter, which is why she's there, which means it's about to get hot. We're looking forward to it, and they're freaked about this. You can see Fulton County Chairman called Bob Pitts was out at the election warehouse last night after the feds were just loading up truck after truck of amazing election records. Look at the size of that thing, baby. Let's go. Perfect. Fannie Willis is having a rough morning today. FBI Atlanta, evidence response team, bring out the F550 XL because we've got a lot of fraud that we're going to be hauling today. And when you're hauling election fraud, you want to make sure it's built for tough. So you see, here's more federal agents out there, and now they've got crime scene tape around the building. So some of us were wondering or whether it was like a civil subpoena or whether it was like a document demand or what, but it's criminal through and through. And we're looking forward to it because remember, they were already suing. They were suing in civil court to get these records or a lot of the lists, maybe not exactly these records, but a lot of the lists. And so is there overlap here? Is this a separate investigation or what exactly is happening? And here was another photo of Tulsi Gabbard out on scene and a report from Fox News, which was breaking when the story broke. Let's check this one out.
Tonight, FBI agents are going through materials found today during a search of the Fulton County, Georgia election office. That search is said to be related to the 2020 election. Correspondent David Spunt has details tonight. Good evening, David.
Brett, good evening. FBI agents are still on site at the records warehouse for the Fulton County, Georgia Board of Elections. The matter is sealed before a court, meaning details are limited, but we can report this is related to the 2020 presidential election. Sources tell Fox News that agents retrieved documents, phones, and computers after a judge signed a warrant. President Trump has long made Georgia, and specifically Fulton County, a target of his complaints relating to the 2020 election. Shortly after that election, Trump spoke to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger and said he needed 11,780 votes to win the state. At the time, Raffensperger said he felt pressure from Trump and denied any widespread election fraud.
Yeah, because Raffensperger is a liar and a loser, and that's not what Trump was saying. He said, I need to find those votes if I'm making a claim, and so we have to put up certain evidence in order to move the case. Like there's a standard, like a burden of proof. In other words, we're not going to entertain your claim if there's only 100 votes that you're disputing because you lost by 11,000 votes. So you have to say, we need to find 11,000 votes in order to meet that threshold in order to make the claim. He wasn't asking Raffensperger to go dig in the gutter and find 11,000 votes, but that's how all of the dumb, repetition in the media sells this, if you listen and read the transcript. But they're not happy about this. You can see here's what they sounded like outside of the warehouse behind the crime scene tape, which is perfect for the criminals.
Now they have been removed from this facility, out of our control. We don't know where they're being taken. We don't know what's going to happen to them. So we can no longer, and I can no longer, as chair of this board, satisfy not only the citizens of Atlanta, but the citizens of the world that those ballots are still secure. So that is a major concern that I have right now.
All right, we're going to see, I almost guarantee it, some federal judge somewhere saying you can't look through those files. Someone's going to sue in Georgia. Some district court judge there is going to say, lock it down, just like they did with the Daniel Richmond phone, for example. Or many other cases, I think Letitia James too. The courts say you can't look at the evidence, turn it over until you go get a valid whatever. And so I think we'll probably see a battle over this. Although in this case, we do have a warrant from a federal judge that gives them very broad scope, magistrate judge, very broad scope, which would be similar to Bruce Reinhart. Remember, they raided Trump's house and went through Melania's closet and presumably her drawers. And they all said, we just have to, accept it, kind of trust the process. It's the DOJ. They're very trustworthy. It's an institution. Who cares if it's Joe Biden's FBI? Just, shut up. So I'm sure they'll, have that same level-headed response to this, right?
Yeah, my point is, once they were here, as long as they were here in the control of Fulton County, I was confident that they were safe and secure. The other point,
and that nobody would know what's inside.
Back to the 2020 elections. For the life of me, I still cannot understand the fascination about the 2020 elections, which occurred 6 years ago. That election is over with. That election has been reviewed, it's been audited, and in every case, every instance, we get a clean bill of health. If there's anybody who knows what happened in 2020 on that night at State Farm Arena, it was Fulton County Commission Chairman Rob Pitts. I was there.
Oh, you were?
Fascination with this, I still don't understand it.
You were there for the water main break. Yeah. All right. Well, good to know. Thanks you for that admission. It'll go nicely in the RICO indictment. So here's another one. A visibly distressed Fulton County, Georgia commissioner called Mo Ivory says that the FBI came in and nabbed 700 boxes of ballots. She posted this over on, looks like an Instagram or something. Here is this lady. Doesn't look too happy about it.
Hey everybody, so here's an update. We're at the elections hub right here off of Fairburn Road, and they did correct the warrant, and they are now in there getting the documents. 700 boxes of 2020 ballots and accompanying things that go with it, you know, absentee ballots, all the things, right? So our clerk of Superior Court, Shay Alexander, is in there making a log of everything that they're taking, but this is like all wrong. So we're trying to figure out a legal plan, and we should have one, whether that's an injunction, whether a motion to quash, I mean, whatever it is, we're trying to figure it out right now, because this is an attack on our elections, meant to keep you from trying to go to the polls in November, being too afraid to change what's going on in our nation. So instead of worrying about people dying in Minnesota, here we are at the Fulton County Elections Hub. So let me go find out what the legal plan is. Everybody.
Well, yeah, she definitely sounds nervous. How does reviewing a prior election disincentivize people to vote in the next election? Are they thinking like Trump's going to make a list of all the Democrat voters or something and like know who they are, connecting IDs and things? I don't think I heard that from her. And if the election and the records validate that everything was so perfect and amazing, then what is there to hide? Let the feds come in. They'll say, oh yeah, we can't make a case here. But they know something is wrong, which is why they're so nervous about this. They've been fighting hard to keep this from happening. And John Ossoff, the senator who may have been a beneficiary of the rigged vote out there, says that he's very nervous about this and he can't believe this is happening because he's probably worried about losing his job.
I just want to note for the committee that my constituents in Georgia, and I think much of the American public, are quite reasonably alarmed and asking questions after the Director of National Intelligence was spotted bizarrely and personally lurking in an FBI evidence truck
like
in
Batman,
Fulton County, Georgia,
because she's Batman
yesterday. So I encourage all of us on a bipartisan basis to pursue the facts as swiftly as possible to understand whether the Office of the Director of National Intelligence is straying far outside of its lane.
Nope, she's not. There was a coordinated operation to steal the election back in 2020. We watched it all happen in real time. We covered much of the litigation right here, and then we saw what happened on election night, woke up the next day, and boom, everything was being stolen because of water main breaks. So he was so nervous then he jumped out on, not only is in the Congress screaming about it, he went on with Jen Psaki and had an exchange with her. Don't need to watch it, just showing you the nervousness out there. We got great photos of the roundup, and here's Colton Moore. He, of course, has been on this in Georgia. He is a Georgia senator, state senator, said it's official. The FBI has seized the 2020 ballots in Fulton County, taking over 700 boxes of records after executing a search warrant at the election center. This is long overdue. I was the first lawmaker in Georgia to call for an investigation into 2020. I was ignored and punished, but I never stopped fighting for the truth. Now it's finally coming out. And the American people deserve full transparency and accountability. And I'm running for Congress in Georgia 14 to help Trump drain the swamp, expose the corruption, and secure our elections once and for all through one-day voting and paper ballots. And he has been on this for a long time. We appreciate his work, and I'm sure it feels like good vindication here.
Hey everyone, it's Colton Moore. Remember, I was the very first elected official to call out for a special investigation and a special session to investigate the fraud in the 2020 election. You, like me, we've been fighting for election integrity in Georgia now for a half a decade. And you've seen the news. I couldn't be more excited. The Department of Justice, even Tulsi Gabbard herself, have come into Fulton County to bust it all up. I'm wearing my Hawaii jacket today in her honor. You see, folks, we can make all the law in the world we want, but until that law is enforced, it means absolutely nothing. Whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, we should all be fighting for free and fair elections, because without them, we live in complete and total tyranny. Send me to Congress, because we have a lot of work to do there federally as well. We'll catch you soon. Justice is about to be served.
Yeah. Let's go. We love justice. All right, so he was out. We also are hearing from some people who were on the front lines here. Steve Sadow was representing President Trump back during this entire debacle. Remember, they indicted 19 people in a RICO case after they rigged the election, charged them, wrecked their lives. Tried to. He said, my personal opinion on the Fulton County search, when a federal search warrant was directed at POTUS, the political opposition said, respect the process. Now the same opposition says you can't trust the process. Is this partisan politics at its worst? Yep. They say if it's Biden's FBI, then it's all amazing. Everybody's great. You can trust everybody. The men and women of the DOJ are better than partisan, whatever. But if it's Trump's DOJ and Trump's FBI, now everything's rigged. But James Clapper, the person in Tulsi Gabbard's spot, said that the Russians were meddling in our elections, right? And all of that was supposed to be given the default presumption of accuracy and honesty and integrity, when that guy really belongs in jail. So spare us. Now, Jeff Clark, who is another victim of this attack, said this is pretty interesting. After he read the warrant, he said, I was supposedly told that no further investigations of Fulton County in Georgia were warranted as an unequivocal matter. For example, in a way such that no rational lawyer could disagree, by several DOJ colleagues in 2020 and early 21. But apparently, the current DOJ and the magistrate judge who signed this warrant, called Judge Salinas, both disagree with that assertion. Oh, there is more. Remember, they said Trump sued in 65 courts, and they say he had no standing. So there's nothing to investigate. Fani Willis is amazing. No fraud or corruption there. There's fraud in everything that we've seen everywhere in America, except elections. Everything there is perfect. Indeed, the DC bar charges against Clark hinge on the absurd assertion that by disagreeing with my colleagues back then, Clark saying we should go investigate the fraud in Georgia. He lost his bar license for it. They wrecked his legal career. Now the DOJ is saying, oh, there's fraud. And a magistrate judge is saying, yeah, there's enough cause here to issue a warrant, criminal warrant. But the DC bar still says Jeff Clark is a bad person and can't practice law. Says in disagreeing back then, now I was attempting to lie. They said he's a liar. He's a bad person because he thought that there was evidence, and the current DOJ agrees with him. How can that theory possibly work as a factual matter after this warrant's issuance and execution today? Answer, it can't. Now, what's enough for my complete factual defense at this point is not what the warrant turns up, but that it was, as a binary matter, even worth seeking and executing versus failing to seek it and execute it. This is how an investigation works. It's not a crime. It's not unethical or deceit to actually do investigatory spade work to dig around, let alone merely advocate for additional investigatory spade work to be done, which is all he did. They wrecked his life. Investigations now actually involve looking for information and documents. Even ordinary non-lawyer citizens will find this unremarkable. Strange how the worm turns, isn't it? It's an interesting phrase indeed. It is strange how the worm turns, isn't it? Now, more comes out from Warner. He's very nervous out there. Massive panic, says Eric Dougherty, saying, how dare you come and look at these records? And by the way, this is happening not just in Georgia, just like the Somali fraud is everywhere. It's also happening in Arizona. They should come gobble up our records too, because we send them out to some third-party company to do all the counting, called Runbeck. Here, third-party company, just count them all. Tell us what the results are. Can we have cameras in there and validate it? No cameras. It's a private company. Oh, okay. Great. A big, giant black box. No one knows. So here's Warner now also freaking out.
Reinforced to all of your listeners and viewers is that Tulsi Gabbard over this last year has literally taken apart what was called the Foreign Malign Influence Center, the center inside the intelligence community.
You mean your rigged propaganda outlet?
that was supposed to look at potential voter interference. Because again, she's still been an election denier. She is a sycophant to Donald Trump. The speculation, at least up here on the Hill, is that she's done such a dreadful job that she's been excluded from most of the national security activities of the last couple months. She's never been up here to brief, on Venezuela, Iran, or Greenland, you name it. And maybe this is some feeble attempt to get back in the good graces of her boss, Donald Trump, and to feed into his obsession about losing the 2020 election. That is at least some of the speculation up here.
I don't know if that's the speculation, but I think that the American people deserve to know that their election was stolen from them. They installed Joe Biden, who then wrecked the country. And it's not like we can go rewind the clock and get 4 years back. So what is the remedy of all of this? Well, first of all, people involved in the cover-up should be in jail. People who executed this fraud should be prosecuted. So that would be very satisfying. But we also want to air it out so we can see to that it never happens again. And one woman who has been at the forefront of this is called Janice Johnston. And she was on the Georgia State Election Board. We've heard a lot from her as we've covered this over the years. She went to hang out with Steve Bannon from War Room, and here's what they were talking about today.
I think if these findings had been known at the time, there never would have been a Fani Willis grand jury and the indictments. I think the repercussions of not allowing these investigations to occur and to be timely revealed had a profound impact on what happened in Georgia.
Yep.
So I look forward to anything that will improve the integrity of our elections. I think the elections, as always, as I've always said, I want elections that are fair and trusted and legal and orderly and uniform. And that has not changed from the first day that I was appointed to the board.
Yep, lots of questions in Fulton, lots of questions in Minnesota and elsewhere. And we're happy to see the FBI moving on this, right? Many of us here kind of keeping measurements and scoreboards on, are we seeing COVID prosecutions, Epstein prosecutions, illegal aliens, like all these issues. Election fraud, it's a pretty big one. So we're excited to keep our eye on this one, and we know how bad it is. Everything else is fraudulent except elections, is what they told us. Safe, secure. We know that's not true. We're looking forward to getting to the bottom of it. Thank you for joining and subscribing as we do. All right, my friends, it's been a great stream. Quick recap if you're just joining us. We started the show by recapping this new angle of the Alex Pretti case. 19-minute video. We parsed through it and got to see exactly what happened when he came racing onto the scene right at about 16 minutes. Pretti came in, racing down from the corner, starts screaming at everybody, then commits another assault by hawking a loogie. Then the whole thing goes down. They were saying this was AI. Obviously, it is not. The whole narrative, the hoax, just like George Floyd as the St. George, just like Brian Sicknick, may he rest in peace, who died of natural causes, who they said and still say was murdered by J6ers. All of that is a lie. Charlottesville, lie. Never ends with them. So we went through it, looked at a couple of angles here. The Pretti family has also confirmed, yeah, it was him. They knew about it. And now many people are having to eat crow. We covered some of that, including the take from Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, doing a memorial for him, which was fun. AI videos from lying Democrats show headless, literally headless federal agents in there, entering that into the record. Anna Navarro saying he's the most amazing person ever, not mentioning that he's hawking loogies at agents and breaking vehicles. St. George and now St. Pretti standing on holy ground, hallowed holy ground from the Reverend. Now, Trump came out. We heard from him and Homan, and they're explaining what the plan will be. A couple of videos. There's Barrasso from today. And then Trump was also out at the White House at the cabinet meeting talking. We got 0 illegal aliens coming into our country. All good news. We also then turned our attention to this judge who just canceled the hearing that was scheduled for Friday. He wrote this whiny screed. We read it yesterday saying, I demand Todd Lyons come in here because I got questions about my orders. We now know that lawyers who are appearing in his courtroom, including this guy called Olaha Barber, are on the referral list to the Illegal Alien Defense Fund to which this judge donates, and then shows up in his courtroom, and then the judge grants him whatever he wants because they're on the same team. So read through that, got more action from Tom Homan, and he is explaining justice is coming, even for those in the Signal chat who are committing insurgency all across America. Then we learned that Tulsi Gabbard is over there in Fulton County, and we're excited to see that. Democrats not happy about it. Questions about the search warrant. What ultimately are they looking for? Where is this being routed through? Might be going through Missouri. Might be related to a company called Liberty Vote, which bought Dominion. And so this might be the nexus of something big, maybe percolating across other states. We've got Fulton County not happy about it. They're saying that the election was perfectly fine. Everything was legitimate, but they really don't want you to look at the files. And she's explaining that they're going to go get injunctions or motions to quash the warrant and other things. But Tulsi was there. We've got the Republicans who were victimized responding to this. Trump's lawyer, Jeffrey Clark, shout out to him for what he went through. Warner's upset, but the eyes on Fulton will continue to dig in to what is going on out there. But now, my friends, it is time to hear from you. And thank you for being here. And thank you for subscribing to our channel if you have not already done that, because we're coming back tomorrow and we're going to close out the week strong. It's going to be a great stream. But let's see who's here. I saw some great donos come in. Thank you for sending these in. Thanks for supporting our work. Thanks for becoming a member as well. We have a great members only community. We had a great stream this morning. We talked about, we were jipping in a little bit on the cabinet meeting, and we talked about a bunch of other fun things. Oh, wow, that's fun. We have a Biden auto pen in the house. Off label, what's up is here. Let's see what else we got cooking. Man, thank you for all these donos. Let's see. The Nipah virus, I think that was from this morning. And yeah, where did we go? That one. Yes, here we are. Okay, so G-Men this morning, we were talking this morning on the members only stream, we were talking about healthcare. And that's a good price. Yeah, PPO for me and my dependent. We were talking about how healthcare is like PPO, HMO, TSO, TSA, PPA, PP2, PPT. It's like nonstop. I have phenomenal coverage with my group. It's great. Hey, here was this one. Nothing to see here. Remember that? Yeah, they just barricaded all the windows after they changed all the election rules, and they blamed COVID for changing the rules. And then they said it's a free and fair election, but you can't watch what we're doing. I want a full AI analysis of scans of those ballots. Yeah, man, I remember watching it was Johan Pulitzer. Remember him? He was given some wild presentations right in the aftermath. And he's like, I can guarantee you, I can tell if it's a legitimate piece of paper. Like a legitimate piece of paper has certain marks, and, it just by going in the mail, by being in the mail and coming out of the mail, like there's physicalities that happen to the document that you can just see it's real. And if it's not in the mail and it looks like somebody just folded them up or shoved them in the machine, you can tell that, you can distinguish that. And so, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what's going on. And to be honest with you, I would much rather have, let's say Pam Bondi's DOJ using 400 people for this than 400 people just redacting, documents every single day for 12 hours a day. So hopefully we're almost done with that. Gauntlet KI, what's up? Hey, Sinson. I lost 250 pounds in September 2017. I divorced my husband. So that's pretty interesting. So are you, what's the sequence there? So, because, if you lost 250 pounds and then you got all, smoking hot, and, thin and, hot and sexy, and you're like, yeah. And then you left him, that kind of sucks for him. But if you divorced and then you lost, if you got divorced because it was irreconcilable, and then you lost 250 pounds, and then you're like, yeah, second chapter, new chapter, then that's great. Either way, congratulations. Losing 250 pounds is great. And congratulations on exiting a bad marriage is what it sounds like. Thank you, Sinsen. We appreciate you. G-Men, I saw a ton of people talking about the 320 going off. Has that been confirmed at all? No, I don't think I have seen that confirmed. I think the only thing I saw confirmed was that 2 agents fired. I don't know at what sequence or what time, but there was a memo apparently that went out, but I have not seen anything. I haven't seen an actual copy of that memo, but I saw headlines about that. So if anybody else has confirmed that, then let me know. Oh, he weighed 250 pounds. Oh. Thank you, chat. Thank you. Got it now. Okay, that's funny. I got it. All right. Thank you for the explanation. I'm a little bit embarrassed. He was 250 pounds. She lost him. So you didn't lose any weight at all. Maybe. All right. Well, it's still important exercise. So thank you. Hey, G-Man, I saw a ton of people today talking about that. I did not. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. I'm a little slow. All right. You have to explain these things to me. All right. G-Man, I saw a ton of people today. I have not seen that confirmed. No. But if anybody else has, thank you. Raph L says, I thought the same thing. I thought, yeah, because, like if you lose like a bunch of weight and you're like, now I don't need my husband anymore because I'm so hot and sexy. And your husband's like, hey, what the heck? That's all I'm thinking. That's all I'm thinking. Because I've seen that happen too, by the way. Like you see that, you're like, wait a minute. Maybe if you would have lost the 250 pounds while you were married, you would still be married. Anyways, I'm taking it too seriously and literally. Congratulations on losing your loser fat husband. Thank you. Although 250 pounds is not fat. It's, reasonable weight, depending on your size. How tall is he? If he's 5'8", then that's a little heavy. Hey, anyways, moving on. Uncle Charlie, RLTW. Veterans, be sure check out your nurses at the VA. Yeah, we also talked about that this morning. That nurse who made that sick comment about Caroline Levitt's pregnancy. Sick. They have now suspended her license, apparently, in Florida. Shout out to them. Oh, it's Chevy Chase. Oh, yeah, from the Griswold family vacation, Christmas. Yeah, it's a beaut, Clark. It's a beaut. Hey, Clark Blount, what's up, Clark? K. Bean is asking, where are Pretti's wife and kids? Nowhere? Okay. Yeah, was he married? Did he, I don't know much about his personal life. They say he was a nurse. I don't know. Was he married? Did he have kids? Did he have siblings? There were comments from the family. There were comments that maybe he was going down a dark path. I haven't seen that confirmed, like by a news person. I haven't seen anything personal. Was he religious? Was he politically involved elsewhere, just beyond being in Antifa land? I don't know. Hey, but anyways, thank you, Clark, for bringing in more membos. Bruce Schreiber, Scott, Hot Vet in the house. What's up, NJG? We got Pro Se America, cheeky fella. Welcome. Robert Bell, all in the house. Gifted membos, courtesy of Clark. Thank you, Clark. He was divorced, says Julie. Yeah, if he had a wife or kids, you'd probably think you'd know about that, right? Like the wife would be out talking about how devastated she is or something. If she was. Off label, what's going on? Hey, Senator Durbin just used the AI enhancement image of Pretti on the agent missing a head on the Senate floor. Klobuchar used the AI photo that made him look more manly. They're supposed to be the best of us. Yeah, that's their little scam. That they're so smart and they have good judgment and high integrity. So that's not true. Voice of the people. Thank you for the nice dono. Make sure you're checking out Off Label Podcast right next door. Hey, 200 Watt Studio. Hey, Anna Navarro. Petrie was married to someone's daughter. That daughter divorced him months ago, probably when he quit his job. See, that's what I'm talking about. I didn't know that. Yeah, I don't know what the personal life is. Like, was he on a downward spiral? Was he, we've seen a pattern of, trans stuff, like with Tyler Robinson, with, who was the other one? Oh, Brian Cole, with, the My Little Pony and the, furry stuff and all that. Like, what's going on with that? I don't know. Probably when he quit his job. King of Biltong is here. Biltong is one of the highest protein snacks in the world, boasting over 50% protein, also packed with B vitamins, creatine, iron, zinc, and more. Go to BiltongUSA.com and use code Robert for 10% off in the house. Thank you, King of Biltong, for the dono. Get your Biltong over there. What's up, Ruffin Sanderson? Hey, is there a way to make member streams background playable? That's a good question. Are they not background playable when they're even offline? That's a good. So I don't think there's a setting on my end for that, Ruffin Sanderson. So you're a YouTube member. I guess my question is, when it's live, I don't know if you can turn your screen off, but when it's recorded, can you still not turn your screen off and listen to it? Interesting. But no, there's no setting on it on my end. It's not like I'm turning it off to make it not background playable. I'm with you. I subscribe to YouTube Premium so that I can play stuff on background. Just put on a podcast, turn the screen off and listen to it. So that's a bummer if the members stuff is not doing that for you, but it's not a setting on my end. I just leave it all the same. Thank you, Ruffin. As far as I know, if anybody knows better than me, please let me know. But thank you, Ruffin, for the dono. And thanks for being a member. Appreciate that. G-Men. Hey, he is obstructing federal agents, though. Would the locals have jurisdiction to charge him, or could they only charge him for obstruction of their own investigations? I think they could charge him for criminal damage, right? The feds would be the victim of like a criminal damage claim or an assault claim. Yeah. And would it have to be a joint local Fed task force for them to have jurisdiction? No, I don't think so. I think the feds would just be a victim of a regular crime. Just like if they spit on anybody else on the street, just like if they were damaging anybody else's car. It's just criminal damage. There might be an aggravator under Minnesota state law if it's a federal official. Like if you, like many states have like an aggravator for prosecutors, right? Like if you hit a prosecutor, you assault a prosecutor, it's way worse than if you hit a defense attorney because they don't care about us. So, Minnesota probably has some statutes there, but yeah, I would just treat it like a regular criminal case, assault and criminal damage, arrest him, charge him. If it's a law enforcement official and there's an aggravator in Minnesota law for that, then hit him with a felony for it. Lock him up. Maybe he's in custody for a little bit because he can't bond out because he's been divorced and he doesn't have a job or something, and he sits in custody and he doesn't go do this thing again, and then he doesn't get killed. Would be nice. Yeah. Hey, E Special Sov. Hey, there's Tim Walz. I don't know if that's a real photo or not from his time in Germany, but he says, I know nothing. What's up? Pinochet helicopter tours in the house. Best helicopter ride you've ever been on. Probably your last one, too. The last time Democrats were this ticked off was the first time Republicans took away their slaves. Yeah, they didn't like that at all. They launched a civil war back then, too. Just like they're trying to do now. Robert Castro. Thank you, Robert, for the dono. No comment on it, but we appreciate it. Thank you for sending that one in. Robert Castro in the house. Great first name. Scuba Diva. Georgia residents have been asking questions. Now we might get answers. Yeah, it's been interesting to see that. And like if the elections are rigged, then even the people there can't get out from under the uniparty, right? The one-party control system. Same in California. Like there's just no chance. Your votes don't matter. Your representation is non-existent. So you can just keep spinning your wheels, get politically active, whatever, but it's rigged at the scoreboard. So what are you supposed to do? Thank you, Scuba Diva. Hey, AutoPen is here. Wow. This is a real, looks like a toy of our last president, Joe Biden. Remember him? This is what he looked like right here. AutoPen. Biden family pardon, Dr. Fauci pardon, and all U.S. and the J6 pardon. All right there. Beautiful. Weekend in Vegas. Fulton County charged Trump like he said to generate new votes out of thin air. Yeah, they did. Then Fayette City found another 2,700 votes. Then Floyd City found another 2,600 votes. Yeah, it was ridiculous. Yeah, and then they did a recount, and then there were missing votes in the recount that it seems like they double counted and then shoved them back in to recreate the numbers again. The whole thing was a scam. Yeah, and then they changed all the rules based on COVID. Everybody got mail-in ballots. They added a bunch of drop boxes. They pushed back a bunch of dates. Rigged. Thank you. Weekends in Vegas. Hey, Carolyn Wilson. Thank you, Carolyn. This is a nice comment. Thank you for being a member, too, for 30 months. That's a long time. Hey, great work. I appreciate your honesty and integrity. Carolyn, that's really nice. Thank you for saying that we have those qualities. Appreciate that. Some other people don't agree, but we appreciate it. Thank you for being here for 30 months as a member. Your opinions are the only ones that really matter. So thank you, Carolyn. Really appreciate that. Shout out for being here. Viva MAGA says, wow. Katie Davis Court says a jury has found the city of Seattle negligent and liable for the killing of Antonio Mays. in Seattle. That doesn't surprise me. Yeah, $30 million. Wow, for that family too. Amazing. Just like George Floyd. E. Texley, sounds like Warner is describing a coup against Tulsi. Well, you heard Hakeem today. He says he wants Kristi Noem on ice. So they're not playing around anymore. Maybe he should be indicted for that. Hey, the Karath. What's up, the Karath in the house? Just became a new membo. Grab the members only stream from this morning. We'll see you back on the members only stream tomorrow morning. Thank you for being membos and supporting us. Elf is here. Hey, we got 10 new membo friends. I'm so excited. We got Happy Mac is here. Rick Finsta. What's up to Freak is here. Cruise Convo. We got Error 404. Hate when that happens. Jay Leap. Russell Smith. What's up? Sherry B. Criticality. We got Wuja Games Central and Alessandra Grieco in the house. What's up, Alessandra? Welcome aboard. And Elf, thanks for bringing in 10 new friends. Can't wait to meet everybody in the morning. He's the Magic Man. Now you see me? Now you don't. It's pretty good. Pretty good catchphrase there. Hey, Mr. Magic Man. The 2020 election was never properly audited. Nor even properly litigated. Everyone kept suing and they said, nope, no standing. Oh, nope, sorry, it's not ripe. You should sue later after the election. Okay, you sue after the election. Oh, it's too late. Latches. Oop, it's moot. Sorry. And no standing. You're the wrong person. Trump can't sue. He has no standing. No, a citizen can't sue. You have no standing. Can a congressman sue? No. All of it got thrown out. Ridiculous. So the fraudulent ballots were just recounted. If it truly is audited, we would have known about the 315,000 unsigned ballots in Georgia 6 years ago, not 2 months ago. Yeah, and the tapes, right? How they weren't even zeroing them out, and they weren't validating the closure. I mean, like if this was a criminal case, you'd obviously have your case thrown out. If you got a DUI, they took your blood and they said, we got a result. And you said, okay, what's the result? And they said, it's over the legal limit. You said, okay, well, what was the proof that you were comparing it to something that was zero? They say, no, nothing. Like we didn't zero out anything. And usually you'll have a standard, right? So you run the standard through the machine. The machine spits out zeros. You put your sample in, it spits out something high. So you can compare your number to another number. They don't have that. There's nothing zeroed out, right? It's just, we just started counting. Okay, well, when you stopped counting, did you close it out? No, we didn't. We just, have some numbers for you. There's no validation. The whole system is just invalid. If it were truly audited, we would have known about this a long time ago, not 2 months ago. It's ridiculous. And when they just keep lying, no, it's free and fair and the most safe and secure, and there's no evidence of widespread fraud, whatever. One old guy, and thank you for the nice dono there, Mr. Magic Man. Now you see me. Now you don't. How dast you incline your mind, says one old guy, that any official to include Fannie, Colonel Angus, Nathan Footlong, Hot Dog Wade, and Brad Turdberger, Raffensberger, how dast you ever commit such honorable dirty deeds, done dirt cheap? Man, there's some good alliteration in that comment. Thank you, one old guy. Nathan's Footlong, Hot Dog Wade, which we have right there. You see that right there. Courtesy of Tremendous. There it is. Will not be a good weather guy, as you can tell. So Nathan's Hot Dog, courtesy of Tremendous in the house. Hey, Elaine Smith is here. You've been the best news source for all my babies. 43 months. That's a lot of them. Thank you, Elaine Smith. We have multiple babies. A lot. Man, that's so cool. Thank you, Elaine, for being here for so long. We've been through some stuff together. Holy moly. So yeah, it's been a lot. And thank you for being here to support us. And we learn a lot back and forth. It's a symbiotic thing that goes on. So thank you, Elaine Smith. We're grateful. One old guy. Say Colonel Angus 5 times fast with a Southern accent. Colonel Angus. Oh no, one old guy. No. Hey, Spidge. What's up, Spidge? No. The 250 pounds she lost was the husband. The joke was poorly written. So I read it literally, right? I just read it literally. So that's why I was like, okay. I don't know if we should celebrate that or not. Like, you got skinny and healthy and then ditched your husband. Great. Congratulations. Your husband's like, I thought for in sickness and in health, till death do us part. Now your smoking hot ex-wife is going around, prancing around the town. Doesn't sound very nice. So thank you, Spitch, and thank you for clarifying on that. For the assistance. Don't tell anybody about that. Mr. Magic Man, you would think that the Democrats would welcome an opportunity to prove Trump wrong about the 2020 election. You'd think they would just do, be transparent about it. Just, come look at the files. What's happening is all of them everywhere are refusing to cooperate. And it's a weird thing that's happening. Harmeet Dillon in the civil division is suing everybody everywhere, saying, can you please give us your records under HAVA and the NVRA? You have an obligation to share your sending candidates up to the federal level. So we as the feds and Congress has said, get to review to make sure you're in compliance with federal law. All of them refusing. California, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Arizona, all of them. No one wants to give the files up. Why is that? Because they're rigged. Thank you, Mr. Magic Man. They can't even say, yeah, here you go. Come look. There's not a single illegal alien voting anywhere. Nope. Can't do it. Tobo. If the Georgia elections had been straight, the two Democrat senators would probably not be in office, right? Now they're really nervous about that. No wonder Ossoff is upset about investigating the election. The founding fathers did envision the possibility of corrupt elections. We wrote the safety valve in the 12th Amendment. The Fedsurrection was a means of distracting the representatives and the VP from finding corruption in the election. I think the John Eastman approach was valid. What say you? From Tobo. I agree completely. Yeah, it's your job to investigate fraud of the election. The executive branch has a duty to take care of all the laws. That means including elections. And there was a mechanism until all this was legal until they changed it, right? Even Mike Pence and his role was not just ceremonial. The VP's role is now ceremonial, but it wasn't at the time. And there was a mechanism that we were about to launch into to debate this. Ted Cruz and others were about to debate it. So then to turn around and say that now that's criminal to investigate these things is ridiculous. So that's exactly what they did. And of course, they tried to impeach him. That would have been the more, I think, appropriate approach if they really thought something was wrong. But they used that as leverage so that he didn't, I think, declassify or do something damaging on the way out. Yeah, I think we got scammed big time. And it's going to be very jarring to the nation if we realize we had 4 years of a stolen president. We know we did, but the rest of the country waking up to that, golly. Hey, a new baby, Natalie Ray. Oh, baby, baby in the house. Thank you, Natalie Ray. We got a new one, 9 months. Happy new baby to us. Thanks for being here, full term. Great to have you here. Brenda Sue, what's up? Hey, welcome aboard. Another membo. Amazing, Brenda. Thank you for joining up. We'll see you in the morning. And grab the stream from this morning. We had some fun. Hey, Spidge B says the joke should be like this. I lost 250 pounds of ugly fat. Oh, that's great, says her friend. How did you do it? I divorced my husband, but see that I get. Yeah. Yeah. Which is, it's close. It's close. But I thought you lost 250 pounds. I was excited about that. Astro Queen. Hey, thank you for always breaking down the jargon that makes no sense. You're the best at this. Astro Queen, thank you. It's a nice compliment. Not sure about that. There's a lot of amazing people out there. But we appreciate you being here and joining us. We try to have some fun. We try to learn some things. We try to be, fair while having our opinions. And so thanks for making it possible, Astro Queen. We appreciate you being here. Ouija's. Why does chairman allow them to enter false articles, quote, without objection every time? Do they have to? That's a good question. I don't really know what that is. Maybe because it doesn't matter. But I think what Ouija's is talking about is during the committee hearings, like every break, you get Eric Swalwell, who's like, I'd like to introduce this stupid article from the Huffington Post in as on the record. And there was like, no objection, come in. And they do it a lot. Maybe because it doesn't matter or because they're lazy. I don't know. But I know what you're talking about. Ouija's, thank you for that. Linda Hinojosa. What's up, Linda? Thanks for becoming a membo. We'll see you in the morning and on the Saturday stream. Although this Saturday, we're going to have a special Saturday stream. More on that tomorrow. Linda Hinojosa. What's up? One old guy says, how many feds work here? Ready for a shutdown? Dem demons and rhino reptilians want to rewritten the big beautiful bill via budget bills. Bunch of turds. Yeah. Yeah, they're doing that today. And it is pretty irritating. If they strip out Homeland funding, it's not going to be good. We're not going to be happy about that. Hey, Orchid, what's up? Orchid Isle. Why is it Membo and Dono? Sorry, missed the memo. So it's a great question, Orchid. Yeah, so let me explain. So we have a members only community, and then you can also support the show with just sending in a dono, aka a super chat. And so, for example, we have some people who are doing both, like Linda Hinojosa just became a member, but there's no dono on that, so just Membo. And then you see other people are membos and sending in donos, like Natalie Ray. Natalie Ray, that was an anniversary post, so you get that on YouTube. But then, like, for example, you'll see, let's see, any membos send a dono in. So some people can be membos, some people can not be membos and send in donos, and you can, of course, be both. So that's kind of what's going on. However you choose to support us, even if you're just here watching, we're very grateful for you. So thank you for that. And thanks for asking about it. What's happening else? We got Psychological Projectionist says, if they find irregularities, they will look guilty. Yeah, and it's to incentivize changes for the future, right? We're not going to go back and get 4 years back of Joe Biden. But it's to make sure it doesn't happen again, and it's to just decimate the lies of the Democrat Party. They keep telling us everything is legitimate, but they're thieves. Hey, G-Man, even if it was proven that it was stolen, these morons will never wake up to it because it came from this administration, and they will say it's BS and Trump made it up. That's all true. Yeah, I think on this issue, a lot of people are going to be hard to shift. Like the hard left is going to be on the hard left, the hard right's on the hard. Like you're never going to convince me it was a fair election, a free and fair election. Never. I'll never believe it. So you can show it, whatever you want. We watched it. We've lived it. We've seen the litigation. We know who we're dealing with. There's fraud everywhere. I'll just never believe it. And you can say, you can fault me for that. That's fine. I would even agree with you. Maybe a little bit too stubborn on it, but we saw it. We saw it and lived it. So there's other people on the opposite side of that, but I think that there's probably people in the middle who don't know and might be convincible, persuadable to come to our side. And if the DOJ finds massive fraud, which I do believe they will, and they start indicting people, it's going to be pretty hard to deny that, right? We're going to just see that happen, come out in front of us, and we want it out. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. We want accountability and transparency. Dan, shut down the government once again. They move all the agencies around the country. The real estate market will crash in Virginia and Maryland, and no more Washington, D.C. Well, that sounds pretty ominous there, Dan. I think if we do shut it down, it's going to be very brief, right? They'll come back. They'll figure it out. I don't think it's going to be like a long 6-week thing again. Should be quick. Friends, thank you for sending those in. Tremendous. Tremendous is over on Locals. Hey, Tree, what's up? Hey, Rob. I just had to come out of lurking to comment about how sad I am that you missed one of the oldest jokes in the world. Lost 250 pounds. How'd you do it? Divorced my husband. Wow. So you got hot and sexy and then left your vows. Pff, what a terrible person. It's like a joke. It's like an anti-joke, right? So you don't get it. Wow, you're a bad person. It's a joke, jerk. Oh. Hope you're doing well. Much love to the Watcher fam. Treat. So funny you came out of lurking. We just mentioned Nathan's hot dog right back there. Thank you for that gift. Mo Grandma. It is my recollection that Dominion was purchased by a Republican a few months ago. Maybe this has something to do with it. With the why there is now a warrant. Wow, I didn't know that. A Republican bought Dominion, according to MSN. Who is that person? Let's take a quick gander, shall we? Scott Leidendecker bought founder, chairman of Liberty Vote, sole owner of Dominion now. Yeah, maybe he went in, he got all their emails, and he just sent it over to Pam Bondi and Tulsi Gabbard. That's pretty cool. Thank you, Mo Grandma, for that. Didn't even know that. The Veil. Hey, Rob, Jigam Geegam didn't create this, but so awesome. Jigam was able to put in the new title. Bad Kitty over there. Yeah. Yeah, and I saw another one from, it's Jake from Oxford. You know who Jake is. He's Biden's former NSA, Hillary Clinton's national security advisor as well. He says, okay, viewers, who is messing with my host? Rob, you're a pretty boy. I got this. So listen up, locals and YouTube. Rob is not slow. He's not. Sure, I've had to send multiple comments sometime to make my point clear, but that was my fault for not making my comment crystal clear. Plus, I did not include 3 years of backstory with my comment. So again, Rob not catching the joke in that moment was not his fault. Her message should have been clearer. Rob, carry on. P.S. I cannot prove anyone called you slow. I'm just assuming these mean MAGA folks did say that. Sometimes I am a little slow. That's Jake Sullivan from Oxford. He went to Oxford, so he's very smart. So, you know, when he has a message, I guess we should listen, or else he might try to rig another election. Thank you, Jake, for the comment. We appreciate you being here. We got this one from Sadie. Hey, about Alex Pretti, courtesy of Sadie. This comes from Times Now News. U.S. citizen born in Illinois, intensive care nurse, VA hospital, Department of Veteran Affairs. Family says no criminal record, no prior interactions. Avid outdoorsman. Has a dog, recently died. Grew up in Green Bay. Played sports. Boy Scout. Sang in the choir. Graduated University of Minnesota. Bachelor's degree, biology. Society and the environment. Later worked in research scientist. Then became an RN. From Sadie. Good details. Thank you, Sadie. That's over from Times Now News on Pretti. Tobo. The negligence case was about the city of Seattle not protecting a citizen when they abandoned their police station and allowed Antifa to establish a Chaz zone. It's not like George Floyd's family at all. I think that there were 2 people killed when the police were directed to abandon their responsibilities. One family is going to be compensated. The Minneapolis police are also neglecting their responsibilities, obviously at the direction of corrupt leaders. Interesting. Well, that's why I shouldn't comment on things that I don't know anything about. But thank you, Tobo, for clarifying that and for sharing the story earlier. But my friends, it's been a beautiful stream. Locals found this photo of me. Well, it's public now, so I guess I better just come out with it. The internet now knows this is a real photo. This is before I went to law school. I made a life change and decided to go into law, but things were weird before that. Here it is. Now you know the truth. Watcher fam. I used to be a little wrestler, a little man wrestler. It's a real photo. Gigam, I don't know. She must have hacked one of my accounts or something. It's a real photo, though. Now you guys know. Oh, gosh. Busted. Thanks, Gigam, for continuing to expose my secrets. All right, so we'll pause here for the day, my friends. Of course, we're going to come back tomorrow and get into it again. I think we got some other comments, though, before we wrap it up that just came skidding in here. Oh, man, thank you guys for these. Yeah, thank you guys for these. Yeah, hey, what's up? Dan, Rob, think again about moving to D.C. Well, we're thinking a lot about it. Yeah, we're thinking a lot about it. No doubt. Hey, Diane. Thank you, Dan, for the recommendation. We're probably going to move there. We're going to see. Hey, Diane. Hey, Diane, thank you. I just became a member. I also live in Arizona. Please help us get rid of Hobbs and AZ. She has ruined the state. She vetoes all the bills. We're turning blue. Diane. Couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, Hobbs and Biggs, I think, is going to be a pretty big election coming up. So we're going to keep our eye on that, no doubt. Thanks for being a member. Shout out to our friends in Arizona. Super cool to see other folks, neighbors right next door. Diane, thank you for supporting us. We will. The elections are going to be hot, and I think Andy Biggs is going to need some support. So we're going to be here to do that. Thank you, Diane. We appreciate that. Shout out to our Arizona friends. Hey, Lucha Libre Roberto. That was from my prior time, yeah. I was hoping nobody would find out about that, but G-Gum has access to all the photos. Although we would never recoup the 4 years of Biden, if it is proven that the 2020 election was fraudulent, would that nullify certain aspects of the Biden administration? Yeah, man, I think you could make the argument that everything is like invalid. I don't know that you'd ever get the courts to admit it. Like, I don't know that you could. How do you do that? How do you invalidate the whole 4 years in every order? I mean, it would be like, there's going to be so much institutional momentum to not allow this to really be explained for what it is, because it could wreck the whole system ultimately. So, yeah. What do you sue? You start suing, you start going by piecemeal, you let the courts deal with it. Congress could come and maybe pass a broad, like if there's enough political momentum, then Congress could come and nullify certain things. But otherwise, the courts would just declare things invalid. Does Trump come out? Does Trump bring a case, maybe get a conviction, declare that Georgia was stolen? And if Georgia's stolen, maybe we get, Wisconsin or Minnesota stolen. That's 2 states. The 2020 election should have flipped. Trump comes out, says it's invalid, and starts doing things maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it's a big deal. How do you unring the bell of the world's most powerful nation for 4 years? I don't know if you can unring that. That's part of the problem. We certainly can't unring the 20 million illegals who apparently came in. Thank you for that great comment, Mr. Magic Man. Yeah, that's why all of the institutions were preventing that from being discovered. We better know the truth. Swap Part, what's up? Dono. There you go. Yeah, so thank you, Swap Part, for confirming this. You can also be a membo and send a dono and be both. And we appreciate that. Thank you, Swap Part. K-Bean's doing it too. Thank you, K-Bean. Yeah, it's both, says K-Bean. Don't be an institutional victim. That's state-funded victimhood. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And if you are labeled as a victim, then it's sort of your destiny, right? If you become a victim and you adopt that as a label, then that becomes who you are. And you operate within the confines of that. That's why I've always thought, like, this idea in certain communities that you live in like a white racist patriarchy is so devastating for kids. Could you imagine teaching your kid that? Like your 8-year-old? You're never going to accomplish anything because white men are in charge of everything and they're always going to keep you down. You're like, what, Daddy? What? It's like, if you program that in, it's going to be the programming that you live under. Same concept comes up in AA a lot. So a lot of people will say, what, how can if I say, hi, I'm Rob, I'm an alcoholic, you're adopting that label. So many people in the program will say, I'm a recovered alcoholic with ED at the end, which is really what the big book says anyways. So hopefully, K-Bean, I'm picking up what you're putting down over there. And what were we talking about when that came in? What were we talking about, K-Bean? Thank you for the nice comment. Thanks for modding the fort down for us as well. Orchid Isle, new supporter in the house. Thank you, Orchid Isle. Grab the stream from this morning. We got into other things that we did not get into here. Dan, yes, Liberty is the new name of the company. Previously, they were known as No Inc. with electronic poll book systems and back office electronic registration systems used around the country regarding the purchase of Dominion. Amazing. Regarding the purchase of Dominion voting systems. And Orchid Isle, it says, okay, you got me as a membo. Hey, love your show. Thank you, Orchid Isle. Yeah, and so there's also a difference. If you're a membo, you grab the members' streams. We do streams in the morning with our members-only community. We have a great members-only community. We have a ton of fun. Usually we do members-only streams on Saturdays as well. But this Saturday, we're going to have a special members-only stream. And we're going to have a special guest. I'm sorry, a special stream. Not members only. On this Saturday with a special guest, maybe a couple special guests who are in my home with me, who you know. Hey, Orchid Isle, what's up? Thank you for that. So we're excited to see you. One old guy, Lucha Libre Roberto. That was my name, true. That's what it used to be before I went to law school. Dan, Pretti won't be needing to renew his RN license. That's true. Because he's dead. Was he out getting CEU for his continuing educational units, which was doing his thing against ICE? Probably. I don't know. Maybe they'll give you credit for that in Minnesota. Who knows? NY, although I try to remain peaceful, good Dr. NY Reno, there isn't any precedent for any elected officials to be replaced when an election is found out to be fraudulent. I find it suspicious that the Atlanta election files warrant just appeared on the national radar. Seems very coincidental after the Minnesota defeat from NY Reno. Says there is no precedent for replacement of any elected official. 0. The House and Senate enjoy the power of who is seated and not. And Swap says the 2020 election was certified. Is there anything in the Constitution regarding decertification? I don't think so. Not after the fact. Not that I can recall, but it's a good question. You might be able to dig up something, but yeah, I mean, you're supposed to get it right on the way in, not rewind 4 years of history because you had an illegally installed president. So I think it's unprecedented, really, is where we're at, which is not ideal, which is why we were fighting so hard about this back during that time, if you recall, screaming about it. Tobo, thank you for that. We got Mo Grandma said the Senate passed government bills but sacrificed Homeland and funded Homeland for 2 weeks only, courtesy of Mo Grandma. So good update on the border stuff and the Senate funding stuff. Thank you for that, Mo Grandma. Let's take a quick look at X, and then we'll wrap it up on the day, my friends. It's been a beautiful stream. Thank you for joining us. We do have a couple comments over there. What's up, Neuro D? Thank you for sharing that. Oh, no. My nipple rule. That picture just changed your nipple rule, Rob. Oh, gosh. My nipples are now on the internet. Oh, no. From my wrestling days. Thank you, OTR Smokehouse. Well, you can't fight it sometimes. Richard, you know, she does seem nervous. Kim says good. And Jody says, hey, Rob, great show as always. You know, if Timu Obama's words would have come out of a Republican's mouth about a Democrat, you think they would still feel the same? Saying, you know, put Ilhan Omar on ice? I don't think that they would be happy about that because it's insane. Dirt Devil says Democrats just won a huge victory. Bovino was going after all the illegals. Homan just wants the criminals. Yeah, the worst of the worst, which means the people who are just worst and the people who are bad and undesirable and just plainly illegal, like all of those other categories, you're kind of like forgetting about those, right? We're going to see. We're going to see what happens and continue to hope and support, you know, the best, hope for the best and support our people in achieving that. But it's been a beautiful stream, my friend. So let us pause here for the night and for the day. Tomorrow, it's going to be Friday. We're excited about that. We'll be back here to get into it. So members only stream in the morning, and then we'll come back and wrap up the week. And I'm sure it's going to be a good one. So once again, thanks for being here. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, we would really love to have you back here so we never miss you again. And we'd also, that's it. That's all we got to say. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching the show. And tonight, I hope you have a beautiful rest. You sleep very well and you do all the things. We want to thank our mods who mod down the forts for us and keep things nice and orderly around here. Big thank yous go out to Donut Mind Me. Shout outs to John. We got Muffin Rando, K Bean in the house, Carrie B, Neuro D, Janek, Dog Digger, Geegum Geegum, Elliot, and just Rhonda. All amazing. And my friends, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting our work. Couldn't do it without you. Thanks for liking the video on the way out and all the things. And then thank you for returning tomorrow because we are coming back here to get into it again. And in order to do that appropriately, we are going to need to see you right back here so that together with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very, very well. We'll see you right. Hey, Gina Harbin just became a member. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Make it a great night, my friends. Be well and bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. You brought the heat with every chat and line. Together we expose corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are watching the watchers. Truth on our side. Watching the watchers. We won't be denied. Watching the watchers. Eyes open wide. Fighting for freedom with nothing to hide. care. Tomorrow's lies are just today's news, but here we see through